This movie can go plow itself.
Why don't you go plow yourself, El Chutoy?
You can expect this review to be a little bit more demented than my usual fare. Maybe it's because the summer has been eventful, but I think the reality here is that there is something evil about this movie. Yeah, I know, it's Planes. Could it really be that bad? It's a baby movie for babies. Yes is the answer. I know what people believe about this movie. Planes is a pseudo spin-off sequel thing to the Cars movies by Disney Toon Studios. You know, the studio that made all the terrible direct-to-video sequels based on Disney's animated films. Which was, once upon a time, the worst, most soulless cash grab thing the Disney Corporation had ever done. So, the obvious question is, how is this not one of those direct-to-DVD sequels? I mean, it doesn't seem to be on any of those lists that rank them, right? People don't throw it in those marathons, so it's gotta be different somehow. I mean, Planes and Planes 2 even went to theaters after all. And only 2 of the other Disney Toon sequels actually made it to theaters. So the Planes films have to be different somehow. The difference between Planes and the straight-to-video sequels oh, I know! Planes stars JJ the Jet Plane. Planes is a Disney straight-to-video sequel, and all those lists that say they reviewed them all are inaccurate unless they also review Planes 1 and 2. Because there really is no difference between this and something like Belle's Magical World. Well, there is a difference because the Planes films are actually infinitely worse. I mean, to be fair, it has been a while since I've seen any of the straight-to-video sequels. But with the exception of Mulan 2, I remember none of them being, like, disgustingly bad. You know, they were all like 3 out of 10 mediocre schlock that not even kids would be entertained by. Meanwhile, Planes 1 is so bad, I lit the DVD on fire. Okay. And that's the good one between the two. Yeah, YouTube man from 2014 getting overly angry and overly ranting and exaggerating his anger about a kid's movie. That's a funny shtick. You can't actually really hate a movie as bad as you say you hate Planes, can you? So, there's this subplot in the film where this luchador plane tries singing a love ballad to this French plane. It works so well that he starts getting sexually harassed by her before she disappears from the film entirely. But, okay. Let me try to do the professional modern critic thing, you know, about Planes. This baby movie for babies that you don't care about. Planes is a spin-off of the Cars franchise. And you know what? That's already a bad start. As many people know, I'm not a fan of the Cars franchise. Like, I know that no one is a fan of the franchise as a whole, but I'm really not a fan of it. As in, I don't even like Cars 1, not a fan. I'll be remaking my review of Cars 1 at some point, but while how I went about my opinion was wrong, the opinion itself I'm not going to change. I'll give you my greatest hits of my problems with Cars 1. The world building is so dog shit that it's actually a distraction, unless you have a Mount Everest's worth of suspension of disbelief, and it confers no benefit to the actual film. Like, you guys know me. You know the premises that I'm okay with, that I even work with. If you want to know the premise that's my limit, that goes too far and is too broken for me to get invested in all, it's Cars 1. Cars 1 is my summit. This is the point where I go, this is too ridiculous, I'm not taking it seriously in the slightest.
And I need you to call my team so they can come rescue me and get me to California in time for me to win the Piston Cup. Do you understand? No.
Why do the cars lock their doors? Like, what are they afraid of getting stolen? Their cash that they keep inside themselves that they can't access? Their brains? Their souls? What are you protecting in there? This joke makes no fucking sense. And it also doesn't help that Cars 1 actually takes itself very seriously, despite being about sentient talking cars. This is also why I'm not so harsh on Cars 2 as most people, because Cars 2 is the plot that a premise like Cars deserves. Beyond that, in Cars 1, I didn't find many of the characters likable. Lightning McQueen is the generic famous douchebag until he learns humbleness, and then he has no personality. Mater is go die. Then there's the plot. I understand that it's hard to make a movie about racing original, but according to many of the commenters on my Cars review, the plot is basically beat for beat another movie called Doc Hollywood. I've never seen, so I can't verify it, but I've gotten so many comments that I have to assume that there is some credence to that. People tried defending Cars 1 saying it's a piece of Americana. The movie does try to showcase the charm of small-town America, and the forgotten cities that have been abandoned due to development. And it does that by showing how decayed Radiator Springs is, putting it in the desert, one of the most visually boring biomes that you could possibly pick, and filling it with Mater. Cars 1 also manages to commit the war crime of being one of the longest animated films ever made, at an unbearable runtime of just short of 2 hours, making it the longest Pixar film to date. Yes, I'm being harsh. I know that people like Cars. I'm never gonna know why people like Cars, but I know that people like Cars, beyond the toys that it spawned. But at this point, I have to ask the defenders of this film, is it worth it? Is Cars 1 worth Cars 2, the Mater TV show, the Plane spin-off, and Cars 4, 5, and 6, because you know we're gonna get them? Especially because it's hard to argue that this franchise didn't make Pixar worse. I will even concede that there was some artistic integrity to the first Cars. It comes across as a story that an artist wants to tell. But the rest of the franchise, man, the only thing I can see is dollar bills. Cars 2 was the first non-Toy Story Pixar sequel, and while we make fun of it, you have to remember, Cars 2 was monumentally successful. Seriously, Cars 2 is still in the top 100 most expensive films ever made. Yes, really. And despite that, it managed to make double its budget in the box office. And that's not even including all the merchandising money they made. It was the 10th most profitable movie in its year. It's also the most profitable Cars thing ever. Seriously, Cars 2 made more money than Cars 1. And considering how some of Pixar's originals are doing these days, it really feels like this flipped a switch, where it taught Pixar the lesson that films don't have to be good to turn a profit. And I will openly admit my biases here. It's hard for me to look past this when looking into any Cars property. And while this is a bias, I will say that I'm not talking about this for arbitrary reasons. Like, I'm not just doing this to make people angry. If I just wanted to make people upset, you'd be hearing about how The Good Dinosaur is actually so much better than Finding Dory. The Cars franchise, simply put, is the raw definition of selling out. Throwing away artistic ambition and personal values for raw success. You know, funnily enough, everything that Lightning McQueen learns to not be in the original movie. It's poetry, really. And Planes is this philosophy incarnate. And I could hate it for that reason alone. I could also hate it because the movie is pig shit, but here's the real irony of the matter. The more you respect Cars as a franchise, the more you're going to hate Planes 1 and 2. Because here's the thing with the Planes franchise, it makes the Cars franchise worse, both intrinsically and extrinsically. From the outside, Cars 2 was a bad joke of a film. You could see that as a stupid idea or whatever. In a world where we only have Cars 1, 2, and 3, Cars 2 looks like the outlier. But because Planes exist and Planes 2 exists, it's definitive proof this franchise is all about the money. It's not about artistic integrity, and we'll keep making these movies because that up-and-coming studio Illumination has a really good business model and we're thinking of cribbing it. However, the more relevant problem to objectively critiquing this baby movie for babies is that one of my problems with Cars was that it has a shaky premise to begin with. Taking Planes as canon changes it from shaky to broken to actually horrifying. I mean, once again, it's a baby movie for babies. How horrifying can the implications be? So World War II happened.
All enemy fleet!
It was too late to pull up.
Get out of there, Lucas!
JJ the jet plane here wants to compete in races and stuff, and he's getting advice from this old war veteran who can no longer fly. You know, despite being a plane who can be rebuilt with new parts. Skipper here can't fly because he was part of a military operation that was shot down. And World War II. Like, canonically World War II, and in this baby movie for babies, we see that his entire platoon was shot down and killed over the ocean. Like, canonically, they're gone. They're dead. They're not coming back. Their car souls have gone up to car heaven. I don't even know where to begin with all this. Let's start with the fact that Skipper here is a fucking liar. That's just a regular run-of-the-mill liar, a fucking liar. JJ the jet plane admires Skipper because Skipper says that he did all of these operations and was this big World War II war hero, and JJ keeps on talking like he's this amazing super soldier badass guy. When we learn later in the film, the only thing the guy ever did was got his entire squadron killed because he fell into a trap due to a moment of contrived idiocy. When JJ the jet plane finds out, there's this discussion and this dramatic confrontation, you know, like any other cliched, trite, stupid, liar revealed kind of shtick. But I will say, I don't think I've ever seen this cliche where the liar is lying about military experience and accolades. Because, you know, there's just something about stolen valor that makes a would-be dogfighter kind of look like utter dog shit. And this guy does try to redeem himself by the end of the movie, but, like, they treat it as low-level lying. Like, JJ the Jet Plane just told him that lying was bad, and he learned that lying was bad. And we all got gold stars in kindergarten because we learned not to lie about military experience. Okay, Skipper didn't fucking put his hand in the cookie jar. It's literally a crime to misrepresent military accolades in the United States.
Don't thank me. I learned a lot more from you than you ever learned from me.
Skipper is canonically over 60 years old. He shouldn't be having to learn this from a random farmer. Yeah, I get it. We're taking the baby movie for babies too seriously. Even though it wants to have this hardcore backstory where people die in World War II on screen to the point where we see them all go boom. But fine, fair. You all have a point. I should take death as seriously as the movie does. Early on, JJ the Jet Plane and his friend are watching a television program called The Best Air Crashes of All Time.
Oh, I love this show.
The 10 best air crashes of all time.
That is not gonna buff out.
I should remind you that the main character of this movie is a plane. So canonically, Live Leak is public access in the Cars universe. You guys think any of the World War II bombers actually made it into that compilation? What about the flight that hit the Pentagon? What, too soon? Like, JJ the Jet Plane does go to New York in this film, and the skyline is not inaccurate to modern day. So the event is actually canon to the Cars universe. Like, Mater would have had a reaction to it. And then as JJ the Jet Plane is flying through New York City, he has to land at JFK Airport, and I'm all like, do you think in this universe JFK actually was the motorcade? I'm not bringing this up to be pedantic or funny. It's like, how seriously are we supposed to take this world? This has been a meme for a while because it's so fucking ridiculous. It was ridiculous in Cars 1, and it got more and more ridiculous as the franchise went on. You all remember the Cars 3 trailer, right? Where it looked like Lightning McQueen fucking died. And people were, like, shocked and awed. But then you take a step back and you realize, with the exception of Cars 2, that is how this entire franchise treats itself. That is the level of seriousness it wants to be. And here is, like, the absolute biggest breaking point. It's a stupid as fuck idea to canonize World War II in a world as ableist as the Cars universe. Yeah, now we're going there. Let me tell you the theme of every Cars and Planes movie that's not Cars 1. In this universe, you were built for only one thing. Only one thing that you were specifically designed for. The manufacturer above made you to be a crop duster, or a racing plane, or a school bus. If you leave those parameters, you're at best a spectacle, at worst a hindrance. The main plot of this movie is that JJ the Jet Plane wants to be in the big race. I guess he was inspired by his buddy Putt-Putt.
Hot diggity!
But everyone, and I mean everyone, is telling JJ the Jet Plane that he can't do it. You're a crop duster, Dusty. Crop dusters aren't built for that. They just don't got the genes, you know? Save it for the people who are born and bred for it. You see Skipper there? He was literally built as a killing machine. That is what his manufactured purpose is. Someone here designed Skipper specifically to kill other sentient vehicles. You, JJ the Jet Plane, were born to cut butter. I mean crop dust.
Oh my god.
Yeah, welcome to the club, pal.
Do nothing else or we will laugh at you. It's not fucking horrifying at all. Oh, and by the way, when you get old and useless, we're just gonna arbitrarily stop manufacturing your specific parts, and you'll get replaced by better, newer, more superior sentient beings. And with the exception of people like Mater, who see you as their best customers, when you get really, really old, people are just gonna find you annoying at best, and they're gonna absolutely hate you at worst. These days, I do try to take a movie on its own terms. If it wants to be a baby movie for babies, I'll let that slide. But baby movies for babies shouldn't give a guy a serious World War II backstory. And when the movie does that, I'm gonna side-eye it, because I know what happened during World War II. I know what World War II was about. And when you're telling the main characters that they can't do X, Y, and Z because of their physiology, to the point where that attitude has mainstream acceptance, and it's like almost indoctrinated in law, it kind of makes it seem like the Germans might have won in this universe. Maybe don't use real history in these stupid, confusing, broken movies that make no sense. Especially because they can't even basic logic very well.
Yeah, he's the indoor racing champion of all Mexico.
Indoor racing?
How the fuck does a plane race indoors? Is that a thing? Anywhere. The moon. Anywhere. If you do take this movie remotely seriously, you're gonna fall into two camps. That's really cute. Please don't talk to me in public. Or, oh my god, this is fucking horrifying. Why would you write this? So, one of the most mental clusterfuck part of the movie is when the racers go to India. In India, because cows are tractors, we see a lot of tractors. And one of the characters says this.
They're sacred. Many believe that we will be recycled as tractors.
Oh, well, I believe in recycling.
It's cute. They wrote recycling instead of reincarnating. Except those aren't one for one. This isn't replacing everybody with every pony. Recycling is actually a technical thing. And like, taking bits and pieces from a plane or a car or whatever and making a tractor out of that, that is something that you can do. You can do that. In universe. In universe, you can objectively recycle other vehicles and make a tractor out of that. There are mechanics in this universe that rebuild and change other vehicles. At a basic level, when you can objectively do something, saying you believe in it doesn't make sense. It's like saying, I believe that sometimes lumberjacks cut down wood. Yeah, that sounds possible. You might be right on that one. Just the word recycling should not be in a movie with sentient vehicles. I don't know, is this a hard line for anyone else or is it just me? Because when you mention recycling in the Cars universe, it makes me think of like this weird Frankenstein amalgamation where you take some pieces of Lightning McQueen and you fix Mayor with them and the fusion has two personalities to just kind of find their own existence miserable. The stated moral of the movie is that it doesn't matter what you were built for. You could do anything that you want. So JJ the jet plane gets into the big race and competes with the big racing planes after someone gets kicked out for doping. No, I am not kidding. This is the plot.
Are you familiar with the racing fuel additive nitromethane?
Oh yeah, Zip Juice, Go-Go Punch. That stuff will blur your vision and slur your speech.
It's illegal.
I mean it totally.
That substance was found in the tank of the 5th place qualifier, Fonzarelli.
Then JJ the jet plane tries to go the distance despite the plane being afraid of heights. He nearly gets hit by a train in the Himalayas, and then nearly drowns in the Pacific Ocean. There, he learns that Skipper is a fucking liar that lies, and so he decides to prove that crop dusters can do anything the big racing planes can do. JJ the jet plane is able to do that because all of the other racers find him so inspiring, they donate their racing parts. So JJ the jet plane gets all of his crop dusting parts replaced with racing parts, and that proves that crop dusters can compete with racing planes somehow. This is the fucking plot of the movie. I am not making things up. Somebody wrote this, signed off on this, they animated it, the voice actors all voiced this with no questions, and then some dipshit in an executive office decided this can go in theaters. It makes no sense. I guess that JJ the jet plane beat racism though.
I finally get it. You're afraid of getting beat by a crop duster.
That was cool. I'm guessing he'll be given the Dwight D. Eisenhower Medal of Honor. The guy must have been ordained by Jesus Chrysler himself. He's canon in this universe too, by the way.
Is the Pope Mobile Catholic?
I wish I was separated at birth.
I wish you were separated at birth too. Who was this movie made for? Why did they give it a sequel? The Mexican plane gets this crush on a random other racer girl, and they give it this love vision because I guess that's the only way someone could think of making a plane sexually attractive. Because they're planes and she's looking away though, it looks like the guy is staring at the plane's equivalent of her ass. They touch tailpipe by the end of the film though. We also have this fucking blimp that's sentient for some reason. I don't know what purpose it serves, but it makes me want to commit Hindenburg. So, to recap, Planes stars a plane who is afraid of heights. He is a crop duster, but he wants to be a racing plane, because Turbo is a movie which exists and we should all aspire to be it. The crop duster can't be a racing plane, because he got disqualified for not being a racing plane, until one of the racing planes was caught doping. Then, the crop duster was allowed to be a racing plane. He is trained by Skipper, a veteran from World War II who led his entire platoon to their deaths. This training is good enough to allow JJ the jet plane to actually compete. And JJ the jet plane wants to prove that he can do anything a racing plane can do. But because he's not a racing plane, he nearly dies again and again and again, until he gets his crop dusting parts replaced by racing parts, and proves that a crop duster can do whatever a racing plane can do. In the end, we learn that it's not about what you're built as, it's about what surgeries you can obtain. Good lesson for the kids. I love it. 10 out of 10. Planes is a transhumanist masterpiece, even though it looks like it was animated in Google Earth. Planes is a very, very bad film, and I hate it. But because God hates me, it was somehow able to make a sequel that somehow went to theaters. Yes, the cheapquel of the cheapquel actually went to theaters. As you might have been able to tell, I'm not much a fan of the first Planes. However, I can say one thing in its favor. It's not its sequel, because its sequel is worse than any film that I've ever reviewed. Wait, what? It can't be worse than... No, really. Planes 2 Fire and Rescue is that bad. It's worse than everything that I've ever reviewed. And the only reason that I made this review was basically as the warm-up pitch. I won't go into it here, obviously, but I'll just let you in on a little secret. Planes 2 Fire and Rescue is in my top 5 most hated films of all time. That's not just what I reviewed, that's just all movies that I've seen in my entire life. Live action or animation. Join us next time, it's going to be a very angry review.